This is the Between Two Firms podcast, episode 21.
Wait a minute. Let's reframe this just one second.
These are good problems to have.
And what we can do with money to help our family over generations.
And working towards my entire career, I decided, you know what, I think I need to do my own thing.
And I'm like, awesome.
How's it going, everybody? My name is Nick Kobos, host of the Between Two Firms podcast. And as always, I'm joined by our showrunner supreme, my teammate, Matt Nomchik. Matt, how are you, dude?
It is a Monday here. So can just hit with the Monday activities.
It is a
Doing all right,
Monday. It is a Monday. Mondays for us are admin heavy days. They're days of meetings and short bursts of things. And yeah, I'm definitely with you. By the end of a Monday, I'm kind of scrambled. My brain's all over. But we have a great episode for you guys. We've got Evan Schroedel, brand new firm owner. He's been at it for about 9 months now, and ended his first tax season with around 70 clients, or with over 70 clients. So super impressive, going from 0 to 70 in that short a time, in about 7 months. From when he started in tax season, and just a great conversation, great kind of hearing his story and how he's gotten there. Before we get into the
before we get into a little preview of the episode, what do you have a firm update today?
I don't know. I was hoping you had something. No, I think really we because we've been recording a lot of these episodes kind of back to back.
Yeah. It's kind of the opposite problem that we had before, where it was like it'd be like such a big jump ahead, and there'd be so many things that happened in the interim. Now it's like, we just recorded.
Forgot again. We've recorded I think, 4 episodes. Last week,
last week. Yeah.
In the last week we've recorded 4 episodes, and so yeah, I'm kind of dry on firm updates. That should be changing soon. We should be dropping the cadence down to 1 per week, one recording per week, and so we'll have some a more consistent flow of updates. But no, it's just been busy getting after it, and trying to mop up extensions on the tax side, and
on the bookkeeping side, we're still chipping away diligently through our backlog as best as possible.
It's drastically reduced. We are in a completely different place than we were a month ago, due to the team's hard work under Matt's expert guidance and tutelage. So I'm very appreciative of how the bookkeeping team has been getting after it. But yeah, I think this episode is a little bit of a longer one. We were having a lot of fun and went deep on a couple of things. So I think if you have nothing else, you want to go ahead and...
That was wide-ranging discussion. You guys got along well.
Anybody who says that their hobby is fishing, it's like, I knew that. It's like, oh,
yeah, you guys could have spent a chunk of time talking just about that. So yeah, I think.
No, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I was just
gonna say, at some point, I think, you have to decide, what are my hobbies going to be? Because you can. I'm a guy. I love hobbies, but you got to.
Well, you have right. You have a few hobbies, but you also have 3 kids, which are each like a hobby,
a hobby in and of their own.
So, so now you got to trade off the actual hobbies.
Admittedly, there's been less hobbying in the last few years for sure. But I got 3 hobbies. They're hunting, fishing, and golf, in that order. And so anytime you get, I get somebody in the Venn diagram who hits, that's one of theirs, it's like, hey, that's what's up.
I mean,
hopefully Evan and I can get out and do some fishing.
To your benefit, those are kind of seasonal. So you can kind of do a different one depending on the time of the year. So you don't have to be going at them simultaneously.
All part of the plan. In the tree stand, working on my swing. But I think let's go ahead and jump into it, and we'll see you guys here in a little bit on the outro.
Yep.
All right, Evan, welcome to the show. How's it going?
Good. How are you guys?
Oh, we are good, and I am excited. We're excited to have you today. We talked a little bit before we started recording, but we planned this. Was it 2 weeks ago now? I think
Yeah, a couple
time.
weeks ago.
Yeah, and had to reschedule, so I was excited to see it on the calendar for today, and should be fun. I Our guest today, I'll introduce you real quick. Evan Schroedel from Schroedel and Company CPA out of New Hill, North Carolina, so about hour 15 minutes up the road from us. Um, Really excited. I've got a bunch of things, but I saw you first on LinkedIn and your posts on LinkedIn talking about your growth. First year starting the firm, and it's been a lot of fun. I'm not super consistent on LinkedIn, but every time I'm on there, I feel like I see you in the feed, and it's been a lot of fun kind of watching, like seeing your posts, and you have some good stuff. I mean, and really transparent, which I appreciate. I'm sure other firm owners that are reading it appreciate. So anyway, we'll talk about that here in a second. But
Yeah.
before we get into it, I'm hoping you could tell me, how did you get into accounting to begin with, and then from accounting, what made you want to branch out and start your own firm?
Yeah, sure. So, I come from a blue collar family. My dad was in construction, first generation, I guess, college attendee slash graduate. And kind of like the little town I grew up in, or city I grew up in. We kind of had this thing, we called it like the yacht club picnic. It was essentially just like a bunch of families would meet at the lake every Thursday night. And you just have like a picnic, right? Like, it was like all the guys from the neighborhood soccer team, their families, some other people. Right. It's just a way to like get together and do stuff. And kind of through that, there was an individual there. He's actually the managing partner for EY in Cleveland, Ohio,
Mm.
close to where I grew up, in the Cleveland and Akron offices. And kind of going through different things and just meeting him at those events and other things, I kind of told him like, hey, like I want your job one day. Like, what is it that you do? Right. And so kind of talked about it. And as it's time to go to school, go to college, he kind of just said, hey, like, you're at this school. We recruit heavily from the school. It's one of the best schools we recruit from. He's like, go there, you know, get the GPA, do the whatever, XYZ, right? Like, the rest of it'll take care of itself. So kind of went there, did the work, did everything, and it ended up interning at E&Y in Cleveland. As a result, after that, transitioned to Phoenix. My family had moved from Ohio out to Phoenix while I was in school, and I kind of followed them out afterwards. And so I started with the EY Phoenix office. From there, doing audit and assurance for a couple years, and then I moved into like management consulting or finance consulting, doing a lot of bankruptcy and M&A work.
Okay.
That at that time, this is pre-COVID. At that time, a lot of those jobs were true, your true road warriors or road dog, right? Like you're gone if you're on a project, 80, 90% of the time. So it was a lot of time, coming home late on a Friday night, 11 p.m. midnight, and turning laundry and, putting out fires over the weekend before you're hopping in a cab at 5 a.m. on Monday morning to get out to LA or some other place to kind of beat traffic and get out to the client site for the week, and kind of just at that stage of life of, getting married and other things, right? You're kind of like, I love the work, I love the people. I don't want to work this much. I want to enjoy where I'm at in life at the moment. I guess maybe that becomes a recurring theme at some point. But then kind of, yeah, made the transition back into like the auditing side or compliance side, and it kind of took a lot of internal audit or SOX focused roles over the next like decade plus from there. Kind of my last project and what really sparked the transition, to open my own firm is I'd been working, for a large company doing a global ERP rollout, managing the SOX compliance aspect of that. And, kind of with like a year or so to go on the project, you're kind of given the heads up like, hey, your role is probably more of a contract role rather than full time. And so when this concludes, you know, we probably don't have a spot for you, right? So, you know, keep your eyes peeled throughout
Yeah.
the year. If you see something internally, right? Like, more than welcome to apply for it and we'll support you, or if you find something external, right? Like, but kind of just going through that process and seeing all the people on the project where, you have people that have been career people, right, for the company where you're, 2, 3 decades, and you get asked to be on this project, and at the end, they're in the same boat as me, kind of just getting cut without regard, it seemed. It's kind of like, you know what, like I've been thinking for a long time, like, how do I get out of corporate? I just really felt like it just like didn't have a soul most of the time, right? Like it just a lot of the work just didn't seem that rewarding, um, professionally anymore. And it's like there's got to be a better way. And you kind of look more and more at doing your own thing, and then you kind of start reading more about, right, like the CPA shortage and who's really serving the public, right? Like
Yeah.
who's really serving people or small businesses, and kind of just going down that rabbit hole, right? Which is pretty well established at this point of, most CPAs are of X age or will be within a few years, and they're kind of transitioning out. And it just seemed like the opportunity was ripe. And, I think the saying is, right, like, the ships never set sail when they're waiting for the perfect wind, right? Like something to that effect. And it really just seemed like, everything was kind of coming together where I'd never have a stronger wind at my back than what I had in that moment. And so, when I was let go, I was kind of ready to go all in on this, and, kind of ready to have, I had a vision in my mind for what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it. And then, just made the commitment to myself to really execute on that
Mm.
for 6 months to see what happened, right? And if it was a success or reached a certain level of success, kind of opens the door, keeps it open to keep going. And if it didn't work, then it would have been kind of no harm, no foul, right? Like I would have tried, I would have scratched that itch and said, all right, like I went for it, it didn't work out, but I can move forward and go back to, I guess, a formal employment situation,
Sure.
but not have to feel bad about it, right? So that's kind of what led me down this path. For people maybe listening, right? Like if you listen to what I just described as my career, not a ton of tax experience in there, right?
Mm.
So like I had done some different moonlight stints throughout. So like I had done some tax works for individuals and small business, and I'm more than familiar with kind of doing the work that I need to do. And I'm very conscious, still about not taking something I'm not comfortable with, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to take on anything that's overly complex, or people that are super aggressive with tons of different strategies and kind of trying to chase every dollar under the sun. But for the most folks, that's not the case, right? And so most people are kind of your general forms you're going to file. It might be a Roth conversion. It might be, a backdoor Roth, a rental property, right? Like it's stuff that if you've done it in some capacity before, it's not that hard. But part of my plan was to really spend the first, I launched in September,
Mm.
kind of spend that first like 2 to 3 months doing nothing but, you know, tax CPE after CPE after just spending, right? Like, you don't necessarily have a lot of client work at that point in
Yeah.
time, given where you're at in the year and you're not marketing yourself. So it's like, all right, like I was going to take every day and just sit there for hours upon hours when everyone's out of the house and do nothing but just like learn, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just watching, learning from other firm owners. It's, going down the holes, it's reading IRS forms, it's taking CPE classes, right? It's doing all of this stuff to kind of make sure you feel comfortable about what you're taking on. And then it's really just being realistic with yourself. Like, there's many times when, someone was referred to me or they came across and said, this is my situation, XYZ. It's like, hey, awesome, right? Like I can't help you. That's not this, I can't do this, right? I don't want you to pay me to be like, my guinea pig client where I'm kind of learning this on the fly, right? Like that
Yeah.
doesn't serve you, it doesn't serve me. Right. So it's like I'll make a connection with someone else that I have met or know, right, that might be better suited for this, or just give some like real advice, right? It's like, hey, no, you might be
Yeah.
you might be trying to do this on the cheap by finding someone small to do this, but like based on where you're at and what you're doing and what's at stake, like you probably just need to pay like a regional firm or a big firm that's got letters on a building to like come in and do this because they do it all the time.
Right.
And like, yeah, that expense hurts in the moment, but like that knowledge that they'll bring and other thing, like everything else, right, is going to save you in the long run,
Yeah.
right? So, kind of just being conscious of that. Yeah, I guess that's kind of a long-winded synopsis of how I got here, but
Well, you bring up a great point. And I'm glad you brought it up because this is something that I've struggled with, and I'm sure everybody who is running their own, especially newer firms, have struggled with. But where do you draw the line, or how do you concept like between work that, hey, I haven't done this before, but I know we can get it done. Like I know we can learn it, and kind of moving the needle in terms of complexity or doing new things, right? Versus getting in over your head and taking on work that's going to bog you down, or like you said, is not going to be a best kind of course of action for the client.
yeah, I mean, if I kind of think about like their overall structure, right? I run into this more of like partnerships, right?
Mm,
Like partnership tax is messy. It's complicated. There's lots of random rules and things in there. And so if someone comes to me with like a super complex partnership that has a bunch of other stuff going on, it's like, hey, like I'm not the person for this,
yeah,
right? Like I know full well, like it's not that I don't do any partnership returns. Like I do have a few, but it's like, oh, like these two sisters own
sure,
X small business, right? Like it's very simple and straightforward, right? Like there's not a lot happening. But yeah, but it's hey, like we're this tech startup. We have multiple equity funding rounds. We're getting
yeah,
acquired. We're doing this. It's like awesome. I'm like, I generally know how you need to calculate some of this stuff for the different groups. But it's like, if you haven't done that now and are behind, I'm like, I can't help you. Right.
right,
Like, I know that. And so, I'm in general, I'm not like the biggest fan of AI. I'm still, I think it has its place. I don't think it's there, especially for small firms. I think the risk, maybe we talk about this, later on in the conversation, but the one thing I do think it's really good at is their AI is great at summarizing research. And I'm not talking about using like, Chat GPT or Claude or anything like that. Like there are a lot of really good tax specific AI tools that do nothing but search regs and, court cases and other things, right? Like applicable things and, kind of using those tools to help you narrow down where to really look and like
mm,
have cited research a lot faster. I think is phenomenal. So, I do use tools for that, but at the end of the day, like I'm not taking their
yeah,
summary of it,
as
right? Like I'm just using it to say, okay, what is your summary? And then what did you cite to get there?
right,
Let me go read that in detail and see if I have the same opinion, right?
yeah,
Um, so if I run into situations where maybe I'm not sure right out of the gate,
hmm
I might have an idea. I'll use those. And if I go down that rabbit hole and find myself asking too many questions because I'm not sure, right? Then
yeah,
it's like, hey, like
isn't right,
this probably isn't the thing for me right now, right?
yeah,
Like one
yeah,
day maybe it will be, right? As like, you keep doing this and you keep learning more and you spend more time educating yourself, right? Like, one day it might be, but right now it's not.
yeah,
And I don't have a problem, you don't like to say no when you're a new
yeah,
firm, but like you also need to be realistic with yourself on, even if I took this on, how long is it going to take me to figure it
right,
out? And does it make it a good engagement, right? If it takes me 50 hours to figure out and I quote this, right? Versus someone else that knows how to do it in 10, right?
right,
Like I don't, the math probably doesn't work there. And so yeah, that's kind of just like my guide for that. It's not like a
sure.
hard and fast thing. It's right. It's just if you find yourself asking too much follow up just to do the research, right? Like then it's probably not a good fit for you.
No, it's so true, and it's funny you say because that's something that I say is like I'm with you. We use AI. That's like the biggest use case. We're trying to use it for more things, but like our biggest use case is using it for research. And it's great at doing research and pulling sources. Like you said, you can't take it as like, you know, gospel truth, but it points you in the right directions for further inquiry. And I always say you have to take it like when people talk about, oh, like AI is going to take all our jobs, at least, within the next year or two. I'm like, uh, I do taxes and I'm sitting here and I'm asking the AI questions. And it's still, like you said, some of these things are a rabbit hole. And so, like, I'm not worried about the average person chucking their tax return in Chat GPT and, okay, I'm done. I don't need an accountant.
Yeah.
But,
Well, it's not even that. It's like you ask it questions and you know what the answer is, or should be sometimes, and it'll
right.
give you a wrong answer, and you're like, "Yeah, no, that's not
with a high
actually
degree of
right, right?" And
confidence.
then you
Yeah.
correct it, but it's like, the normal person that I kind of feel the same way, right? Like the normal person isn't might know the first question to ask, but they're not going to know the follow-up questions to ask,
Or smell when
right? Or
something's
they're not
off.
going to
Yeah.
know if this seems off or not. Right? Like they'll have nothing to go off of. It's just like a blind trust. And the reason they're using someone in the first place is because they don't know what to do.
Right.
Right? It's,
Right.
It's not that TurboTax is not hard to use. TaxSlayer, Free Tax USA, right? Like none of these tools are difficult to use, right? They make it very easy, right? Like that's the whole point of them. It's just that when you get into situations where you don't know what
How
question
to
to even
answer.
ask,
Yeah.
right? Like
Right.
what do I do? Right?
No,
Same as
100%.
like if your car breaks, right? I don't even know what question to ask a mechanic or like where to look if it's not like the first thing, right? Whereas like this person knows where to go, or if you go to the doctor, right? Like it's like, oh, maybe it's this, but because you have these four other things, it's actually more likely that, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't know that if
Yeah. You
you're a
don't even have
normal
the
person with
context.
no
Right.
experience, right? But like,
Right.
yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I don't think it's gonna do a mass replace of anything in this field. And if I really just think about people when it comes to taxes, when it comes to anything money related, right? Like it's still very sensitive and private
Yeah. Right.
subject for most people, and they're not going to just, let me just dump all my info into a computer with unknown security and
Yeah.
have it give me some answer that I have no way of knowing if it's right or wrong.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. And y- you brought up kind of like you'll ask you questions like during research and like depending on how many iterations we have to do, it's like a guideline. And I kind of informally said the same thing. Like, I think AI is good for research. Like I say it is you just play one level up with the AI. Is like I'll go one or two orders of magnitude above my existing knowledge, but you can't just sit there and like eventually it's all you have to have the context to call BS when it's wrong. Just like talking to a person. And so if you get out way too far ahead of your skis. Like it's not just this black box that can just do anything for you and solve any problem. And so I think you're 100% right. You have to be very cautious, especially as a small or a solo, like not to take work that you're not gonna be able to do, or like you said, that is gonna blow up your budget and be a
Yeah.
total waste of your time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And some of my filter too, it's like I have a very specific group of people that I want to work with, and like
Mhm.
that's mostly where I try to play, right? And like if I start falling way outside of that, it's like, you know, this
And
probably isn't the fit for me, right? Like I have a very specific like target demographic, right? Of like, you know, you don't necessarily have to have a certain income, right? Like that's not an automatic disqualifier, right? But like at some point when you're charging, an average price or a minimum price, right? Like you do price yourself out of like what
sure,
people will pay, right? Or be able to
sure,
pay.
sure.
Some people just value it enough and don't mind. But for the most part, that's kind of how I view it. But then it's like, it's W-2, or it's, a bunch of 1099 work where you own your own Schedule C business, right? Or maybe you have a couple rental properties and you're looking to execute some things with, or just don't know how to manage the back end of. That's kind of like where I'm mostly focused. So
And you don't target a specific industry. you're pretty industry agnostic.
Yeah, kind of. I do have a group that I work with more closely than others, but they're probably 30-ish or 30 to 40% of like my overall client list.
Gotcha.
And some of that is like, you kind of, made early inroads with a few of them kind of like
Right.
end of last year. And they had a good experience and kind of just passed along that info to other people they knew that happened to be in that same network.
Hmm.
And so then you kind of just naturally build a little momentum in that network. Despite what people may think or say, I still view this arena as very much like word of mouth driven.
Yep.
That seems to be the best, the best, marketing you can do for yourself, right? Having the Google reviews and other things has definitely helped to a degree. I think I've got like 15 or 18 5-star reviews through my first season here, and
That's
so
great.
that definitely helps with like the SEO and other things, kind of like push you up a little higher in
Yeah.
search because there's enough people that have like left a review on the business.
Right.
So you do get some there, but I still find that, a good portion of my traffic comes from word of mouth referrals from other people I've worked with,
Yeah.
existingly.
How did you find your first group of clients? Like what well, let me take a step back. You started the firm once your contract at the other.
So yeah, I wasn't a contract employee. I was a salaried employee.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
But yeah, I launched
You
after
didn't
I
side
was
hustle first. Like you didn't.
no.
Okay, you okay.
I would been trying to work on like setting some stuff up,
Mhm.
on nights and weekends because I knew my
It was
time was
coming.
coming to an
Yeah,
end. Right, it was like getting my website built and doing some other things, but like I wasn't doing work. I wasn't marketing myself. I was kind of just like I said, getting stuff ready in the background. And like I didn't really have an intention of I wasn't even sure if I would do any work in 25, right? Like
mm,
I'm getting laid off, in September of 25.
sure.
It's like you're real late, in extension season at that point in time. It's like I didn't have any realistic plans or thoughts that I would pick anyone up for that. And then in between now, and true tax season, it was just what can I do to get in front of people and meet people and like I said, do education. Kind of just, very, very much like bootstrapped,
Yeah,
right? Like I'm not spending money on Google ads or like doing anything like that. It's like I just want to go out and be a person and meet people face to face and let them know what I'm doing. I think I've said before, commented before on LinkedIn, right? It's like if you're gonna tell one person, tell a million,
yeah,
right? Like just everywhere you go when you first start out, like find a way to work it in. If someone has a question or if you shop at a small business, right? Like, congratulate them on their success and opening and let them know like what you do. That's led to clients, right? Like, because they just remember it's like, oh, hey, like you came in and bought something from me. Like, I actually realized I need help with, X, Y, and Z. Like, are you taking people? It's like, yeah, right. Like, so it's doing stuff like that, going to chamber events, anything locally, right? Like to get yourself out there. But
did
yeah,
you?
so I wasn't like
Yeah,
side hustling anything. It was just, I had done some of that work in the past. I knew I enjoyed it. Um, and just made the conscious decision that was going to be the pivot, right?
yeah,
And, I think opening a CPA firm, you're kind of subject to more general work or inquiries throughout the year, but really most people are coming to you for that, right?
sure,
So
sure.
I'm finding that's where most of my work is probably going to sit.
Did you when you first started, like for the first handful of clients, right? Did is that like did you have a system or a strategy that you kind of executed, or just kind of any opportunity to tell somebody I'm running the accounting firm, I took it?
I was like any opportunity to do that, right? I was telling people, I can't remember if my first clients came from like my network,
Mm,
because people had learned, or if it had come from like a referral from someone who, I think they came from referrals, right? Like someone had seen that I was doing this and passed it along to someone they knew that needed help.
Yeah.
right? And they had them get in touch. And so it was great to actually go through it. I think I ended up having probably eight or so. Like I ended up with like eight or so clients in the back half of 25. Might have been a
Oh, that's
dozen.
quick,
A
especially
few
for
of
that
them
time of year.
were amended returns. A
Yep.
few of them were, returns on extension. And then a few of them were actually like planning type engagements where people were wanting to get ahead of the next year. And they kind of, signed on with a package of like, well, we'll do planning this year and next and include your filing with it.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the end there. So it started off kind of good. If I go back and look at like my client list, I mean, I think most of my people, yeah, I mean, I think through December of last year, I had like 19 clients or people that had like committed to sign on in some way. And then January through the deadline was like another 55. And then I've probably had about 10 or so since the filing deadline where people have come in
Yeah.
wanting planning or like they'd filed their own amendment and they're ready to file now.
Yeah.
Right. So, I'm up to about 80 or so like, clients for 2026. I think at this point I've filed about 85 returns in total.
Okay.
So 61 through season. I have 13 extensions. So we had like 74 returns, my first season here solo, which
That's not.
was
That's
more than I could have hoped for. Yeah,
yeah.
I've,
That's
I've brought on 6 new since 415. And kind of in there, there was like three or four amended returns that we did, and then there was about 6 returns dating back to 23, 24. That
yeah.
came to me either last year or this year that just realized they
Yeah.
hadn't filed a few years or just need a little catch up. So yeah, I mean, like I'm 9 months into this, and I've found about 90 returns already. So
Yeah. I mean, like that's killing it. I mean, that's killing
yeah,
it.
for a
Yeah.
small person, right? It's not
Killing
bad.
it. Yeah.
So
Have you I, I find that I don't know. I do you feel like you're at capacity or you're getting close?
uh that's a tough question. I mean, I think it depends on like how you want to deliver to people and what
Yeah.
you want to do.
100%.
Right. So like I had a good number of folks that, were used to being on extension,
Hmm.
and I filed them in March, and they're just like, I haven't filed in March in a decade. Like there's like, how did you get this done so fast? It's like, well, there's really no reason not to,
Yeah.
right? Like this wasn't
We had your
complicated.
stuff.
And
Yeah.
part of that time starting the firm, yes, it's education, but it's also building systems
Yeah.
and refining
Yeah.
your delivery. So, I use, I'm sure you'll talk about tech stack at some point, right? Like I use Taxstone. I use it from day one, and I spent a lot of time building a workflow. And I'd really spent like a couple days kind of like building and refining a workflow and, drafting all the messages and communications and organizers and this and that. And then you kind of go through and, see some other people talk about theirs, and you're like, huh, yeah, no, I actually just like that one a lot better. Like, I'll pay the, $200 for it or $300 for it, and then kind of like add my, some things that I do in
Yeah.
there, like, my own messaging, this and that, right? But like I just like the flow better, and like where I'm at in the year, like I don't want to redo all of this, right? Part of it
Sure.
was learning the tool, part of it was thinking about the process, but then yeah, like I've identified a way that's probably going to be more efficient or better for me. So like I'm just going to move to it before I start because I know it's going to help. But yeah, I mean, I think kind of using all of that stuff in those tools and having it prompt people and remind people and having them get things in earlier than they're used to, right? Like there was a constant nudge where, I think I had my reminders set for every like five or 6 days, for like eight
Asking
to
for
10
documents.
reminders, right? And it's like you get these random messages of people like, oh yeah, like I'll get it to you, sorry. right? And it's like, oh yeah, like I didn't realize you hadn't sent it in yet. Like I don't,
Yeah,
this
right.
is
I'm
just
not.
there. This is
It's,
there for you.
it's the bot. Yeah.
Not for me. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of thinking about that. Next year if I have a lot more people, I will have to figure out, a way to do it. The first year is always hard, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you're starting a firm and listening to this, right? Or like if you've started it and you're still going through it, right? You're still building, like it's just hard. Especially in tax season where it's like, if you're a solo guy, you're doing all of the work.
Yeah.
You're
Right.
having
You're
to take all
delivering.
of the
Yeah.
new client calls, right? It's like I had weeks where it's like I would have, 2 to 3 client calls a day. And it's like,
Yeah.
I'm very thankful for that, but it's like half my day is spent preparing for these and sending out the proposal. And then once it's
Yeah.
back, right, it's like onboarding folks and doing all of this other stuff, like in the middle of tax season when you're trying to do all of the work at the same time, right? Like, so, I knew going in that if I got busy, like I was hoping to, like I was going to work a lot. Right. Like, and I probably had a good month where I was in my office every day from 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, and I would come out for dinner and hang out with the family for a bit, but then I'd be right back in here until, 11, 12. I think I did a couple like 2 a.m.s when everyone was on spring break and I was just home alone. I'm like, well, what am I gonna do? Sleep by myself? Like, right? Like I have work to do. Like this
Well,
is when people want it, right? Like I may as well just crank through a bunch of stuff. Like I'm not tired or like unhappy. Like I'm just kind of like happily
in
cruising
flow
through
state.
like,
Yeah. When you're in that
yeah,
flow
right. Like,
state.
I know I'm going to be busy. So, that was kind of the thought there. But, if I think about it, right, like you're focused on the customer and I've approached this through the lens, especially
Yeah.
with my pricing and delivery of like, if I had to pay for this, and I had to pay what I'm asking people to pay, like how would I want that experience to be? Or like what would I be happy with from a delivery standpoint? And I think, using Paxstone, like I said, to automate a lot of messages and like walk people through the process was really helpful. Being fairly quick to respond to folks when they had questions or sent emails is another sticking point for me, right? Like if I see something pop into the portal, I try to answer it pretty quickly, since I still have the capacity to do that. But then also in like the delivery, right? It's, I think you also use Loom.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the Loom videos. I got a lot of compliments on that this year where people are like, I've never seen that before. Like I really appreciated that. Um, some of them, that's even a fine line too, where it's like some of those videos, you really go through things and like really explain a bunch of stuff and like how it works and like why they may or may not qualify and like why it looks different this year than last year because last year was just wrong, right? Like, I mean? Like you just go through it and kind of do all these explanations. I remember a few of the videos where I'm like, oh man, this is like 18, 19 minutes long, right?
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
like a long
I'm
video. And
always
then I send it out
self-conscious.
and like it's been like 7 minutes and I just see like, the return signed. I'm like, maybe I won't do it quite that in depth in the future, right?
Pour
Like
your
I need
heart and soul into it.
to
Yeah.
find a way, right? But like, maybe
That's
eventually they'll go
funny.
back and watch it. But like every time there's
Yeah,
like, hey, like,
I'm sure they're
thank
gonna
you for
circle
the
back.
video.
Yeah.
Like, thank you for explaining this or like at least, trying to, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, when I think about like all of that, that's kind of like where I'm at. And like, okay, like now that I'm here, does my pricing make sense? Does it not? Right.
Yeah.
If I look at like the people I've talked to last year, my close rate is close to 80%.
Mm,
So that might say pricing is a little low, right? But like if you're a new firm starting out, you want that number
that's
as close
true.
to 100% as
That's no,
possible, right?
that
Like
is so
you don't
true.
want it to be 100%, but like you can't have it be like 40,
Yeah. No,
right? Like
right. At the
maybe if you're at
beginning,
capacity, it's like, yeah, like I can live with a 30% close rate because I'm going
right.
to ask a lot. And if people will pay it, then yeah, I have room
Right.
for it, right? But
Right.
like if not, I'm just not looking to do more.
That's
Um,
that is so true. Like at the beginning, I don't think it's about optimizing. Like the beginning, it's like you got to fill the schedule and you got to get the client base.
yeah,
One because, and that's a conversation I had with a brand new firm, like a brand new firm owner the other day. It's like, I don't know if this was your experience, but my experience was, for me, like the first few, it wasn't even like the first few clients. Like I would have done it for free. Like it was just about getting the rep, not like the rep for the systems, like, or like the sales call, and like I'm talking at the very beginning, right? Like the sales process and the
Yeah.
proposal process, and like how I'm gonna, and you're kind of fumbling and identifying like issues with the systems and kind of and just getting the stink of the imposter syndrome off as quickly as possible. Um, yeah, I don't think it's about optimizing, but once we hit capacity for the first time, um, then it was like, okay, now, like I didn't even look at close rate until we hit capacity, and then once we hit capacity, it's like, okay, well now, um, it if everybody's say, we were like the same way. It was like for tax, um, even now, I think our close rate's too high. For tax, it's like 66% right now. But we just started screening leads. So it's like the third that weren't opting in probably shouldn't have been on discovery calls to begin with.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, we probably need to raise it again. But once
Yeah.
you, but it's a different story once you hit capacity, like you said, versus at the beginning, you're just trying to fill the book.
Yeah. And I mean, I probably, if I'm being realistic with myself, I probably have like 30 to 40 more I could probably
You think you
handle.
could handle? Yeah.
I think so. There would be a group in there that I would be more firm with my deadline that's in like the engagement letter of like if your stuff's not in, I'm not going to guarantee it's done by 4:15.
Sure.
I mean, I was still taking people on like 4:14. You know what I mean? Like there were some people
We'll
that
get
I
her
had
done.
talked to and I hadn't heard from. Right? Like I kind of just gave up with follow up. I usually do like 3 to 4 follow ups if I don't hear from you.
Yeah.
Right, like that's something else I say, right? Is like silence is not a no, right? It's like, I view it as like
That's
it's
very
not
true.
yet a yes,
That's very
right?
true.
But like I also don't want to be annoying,
Yeah.
right? So it's like I'll send a follow-up like 4 or 5 days later. I'll send another one probably like, a week after that. And then I'll let it sit for a little while. Then like, I'll track it on my end and then I'll come back, a couple weeks after that and just be like, hey, just wanted to reach out one final time. I'm assuming you found some help, but if you haven't, right, like I'm still ready to go, right? Like here, ready to start when you are type of thing. But yeah, I mean
Well,
that's
it's a process. It's a process, and I mean it's your first tax season, which is
it
like,
was my first tax season,
yeah,
right?
it's
Like
like,
I had no idea what to expect.
no,
If I'm
I
being
think it's
fully
insanely
fully
impressive.
honest.
I
Yeah.
so walk me, if you don't mind, what's your service offerings? Like how do you, if a new client comes to you, like what are the options? Do you do propose? Do you do sorry, three tier? Do you just say,
I
hey,
do
this is
three
it? Like,
tiers. I'm highly I'm I'm likely to drop a tier
mm,
at some point and go with two.
okay.
Um, I haven't decided if that's going to be the top tier or the bottom tier yet.
Mm.
You
Well,
know, I
what are those current tiers? Like how do they
just
exist
right now
right
the
now?
tier is the classic, like gold, silver, bronze type
Yep.
thing, right? So it's just filing as the bottom tier.
Okay.
The middle tier is filing and like one planning session through the year. So it's mainly right like doing a good provision and then finding what I tell people, right, is like I'm trying to stay small enough where I know everyone and I know
Yeah.
about like your interests and your
Your
life,
story. Yeah. Right.
right? Because the reality is, right, there's hundreds or thousands of tax strategies out there. And I know people will pay for the fancy tools, right? To say, hey, like, here's all the strategies and here's how much money you can save, and blah, blah, blah. Like the reality is for most people, like these, I tell everyone, like it costs time or money. Most of the time it costs both. And if you don't want to spend your time or your money doing that, then this is not a viable option for you. Right?
Yeah.
Like I can't tell you how many people I've talked probably out of real estate or other things because like when you start to go through the list of like actual requirements of like, hey, this are all the things you would have to do
Yeah.
before we can even figure out like the dollar value to see if it makes sense. They're just like, oh no, like I don't have time for that. Like I don't want to spend my time
doing this, right? And it's like, okay, if you don't, that's fine, right? But like, that's part of like that should be part of the conversation, right? Like, should be
100%.
giving you that information so you know if you want to do it or not.
100%.
You know, because a lot of them have a lot of people have an idea in their head or something they saw on, you know, social media somewhere of like, oh, you just do this and then, you know, you do X, Y, and Z and then boom. It's like, well, no, not really most of the time. You know, the example I always give that's like, you know, it's the worst example to give. It's just easily understood, right? Is like charitable giving, right? Some people love it. Some people do it already. And it's like, hey, you're going to have a huge income spike this year for XYZ reason. Like, why don't we look at like a DAF or, you know, donating appreciated stuff, like doing something in this year to make your giving
Right.
kind of
Help
matched in the
you
year
were
of
gonna
the
do
income
anyway. Yeah,
spike,
right.
right? To do some type of offset. But it's like, you know, if I look at your prior 2 or 3 years of returns and you've spent $0 doing your giving, right?
Yeah.
Like you're not interested in it. The
Right.
strategy makes no sense for you,
No, it's very
right?
true.
Like, you know, could like you know, yeah, maybe you save in taxes this year, but like you still gave up something. And if
Yeah,
you
a lot
don't
of the
want to give
time.
it up, you're better off just keeping it and paying tax on it. Like it's not the end
Yeah.
of the world.
Right.
Right. So
Right.
like, you know, I'll probably, you know, maybe this is like the worst tax planning sales pitch of all time, right? But like
No, but
people
it's so
seem very
true.
appreciative of like it's very upfront and honest. And like I think you mentioned something about like my LinkedIn post being very transparent, right? Like I'm not here to sell you anything, right? Like I'm not trying to, you know, I forget what the terminology they use for it now, value-based billing, maybe.
Mm,
Like I'm not here to like take a percentage of some tax strategy that I
yeah.
sell you
Yeah.
that you then have to spend your money on and time implementing, right? Like that's not what I'm here for, right? Like I'm supposed to be a partner to you, right?
Yeah, an
And I'm supposed
advisor.
to
Yeah.
help you make a decision. And
Right.
so that's what you're paying for is my time to help you do that.
No, it's so true.
And so that's kind of just like my viewpoint on this. And yeah, I know long-term viability wise with the planning, like, you know, maybe I don't have a ton of like recurring people year over year that want that, but like, you know what I mean? But like,
But
it's
the
also
folks
not
but
priced
the
like
folks that
that
will recur.
outrageous where people won't keep paying it, right? So,
Well, it's such like I have this a lot, especially. Well, I think we've done a better job. Maybe as our prices have gone up, it's just weeded these folks out, or maybe we've done a better job of screening it or kind of catching the vibe up front. But yeah, a lot of conversations of it's like, yeah, I love what you said about I saw this on social media. Like, why can't I do this? And it's like, well, you could do that, but here's all the things they didn't tell you on in the Instagram reel of like all the requirements. And by the time you add all that in, it's like you're gonna spend $100 to save 30. You know what I mean? It's like it doesn't
yeah.
make any sense. And that I I sometimes feel guilty when when an advisory call goes the direction of me just saying, yeah, you're not like that's not gonna work, or like this is a waste of your time. Because I feel like sometimes I feel like no, like you want it to be like a happy, like a yes outcome, like, oh yeah, we can do it. But like you said, it's just as valuable. I mean, it's just as valuable to the client to know that it's a waste of their time and that they shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if you dealt with. I think I unwound more unnecessary S corps this year than I think we unwound more than we set up.
Yeah. I
And
think I posted about that. Yeah, I haven't had, I will set up probably 2 this year, that are good candidates for it and have been for a number of years where it makes sense. But there's been a few this year where it's like,
no,
you know, we did unwind 2 of them. You know, the one person just kind of drug their feet and didn't commit to anything either way. So it's still out there and they want to
yeah,
keep it, but it's just like
this is
you know,
costing you.
it's costing you money and like you haven't even been meeting the minimum criteria in a year of existence, right? Like
Yeah,
you've never done payroll, you've never
right.
you know what I mean? Like there's a bunch of things you've never done and like,
Yeah.
you know, this was a side project for you that made like 3 grand last year. And
Ooh,
you have a
ooh.
W2 job that pays like, you know, almost 300K.
Why are we doing this? Yeah, right.
Like there's like basic, you know, there's hardly any scenario where it makes sense for you to do this, right?
Yeah.
Like, but because they're not in a high tax state, right? So it's not even like there's potential like pizza election that makes sense here, right? Like there's literally nothing that makes sense about this other than some of that, like even recently, right? Like I still take, so I don't, did you guys do a Google business listing?
Like a Google My Business page. Yeah.
Yeah.
hmm
And so part of that, right, like being a sole person and working out of your house, right? Like I had to put my phone number on there and I had to use like, a bunch of other stuff. So I do get like random calls or meetings from people that are things that are like, probably not the best fit yet, but like maybe one day they will be. And I still have time to entertain it. So I do. But like, just last week, someone called me. They're like, yeah, like I'm setting up a business. I'm going to start working for myself officially on like June 8th. And my name or something got sold to 1-800 accountants, and they're calling me trying to tell me to elect S corp status and whatever. And he's like, I
Wow.
felt like it was a sales pitch. I'm like, well, yeah, you were
You're just
right to assume that. That is exactly what they were doing. Like, you have no need for this. Like, you don't even know if your business is going to work yet, and people
yeah.
are selling in. Like, I've had a few other people that came to me last year where thankfully like their paperwork did get filed correctly or on time, and so it was never accepted. But it was
Right.
like, you made 18 grand last year.
You're
Like,
like, wow.
why? What are we
Who is
doing here?
recommending
Like,
this?
as a
Yeah. Right.
profession, right? Like, another
Right.
CPA told you to do this. Like, what are we doing? Like, if you're
Yeah.
that hard pressed for money, like, go hit the ground and find some more clients. Like, don't give people bad
I
advice,
don't know. It's so
right?
true.
Intentionally bad advice, right?
Right.
Like, you know,
Yeah.
it's bound to happen at some point, right? Like, you'll give someone advice based on what they told you, and that probably wasn't the whole scenario. And afterwards, they're like, "Well, you didn't tell me,
X,
these
Y, and
other
Z.
things." Like,
Yeah. Right.
right, like that. I probably would have changed my answer had I known that, but like, you didn't tell me.
Right.
But like, yeah, if you knowingly know how much someone is making, and you're, or if they're knowingly forming a brand new business, like, talk to me
Probably.
next year, right? Like, go
Yeah.
prove that it works
Right.
to a level that even makes sense for 1 year
Right.
before we think about doing this.
No,
So
100%. And do you, on those advisory or those middle tier engagements, do you offer ongoing support throughout the year for like the quick question?
yeah, I
Yeah.
do for all of them in general.
Okay.
Um,
Even your base tier.
Even the base tier,
Okay.
because deep down I know 90% of people aren't going to use it,
Yeah. Sure.
right?
Sure.
I'll throw it out there. If you talk to me, great. And like at some point during the year, I will reach out to you, right? Like I will send you a message and just like a general check-in, probably sometime midsummer, right? Just to say, hey, how's it going? How's the year going? Have there been any changes or anything like to your situation that warrants like a further review? And that's like another way to plug probably like an upgrade to another tier that has that option. But like, I'm also hoping I work with most of these people, if not all of them next year. And like, I want to know about the surprise now, not
Yeah. 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 Right.
not
Right.
in March when I don't have time to think about it, right? Like I'd
100%.
rather know about it now. And if I have to give away some quote unquote free advice to keep someone happy, then so be it, right? Like
Sure.
what's the worst thing that's going to happen? They're going to take the free advice and leave, right? And then maybe I wasted 20 minutes of my time. But
No, that's
uh,
true.
you know,
Do you
what
are your packages all? How do you bill them? Are you using like an ignition or an anchor or?
No. So like I have a pricing sheet I'll fill
Yep.
out during the call. I'll kind of tweak it at the end of the call, and then I'll just send like an email from a template that I have
Okay.
with the pricing if it comes in, depending on what they pick. I bill up front for the most part.
Yep. Okay.
I was
You
for
just
a
lump sum.
while. If you had like a plating package, I had been splitting some of those, especially if like they were signing on late last year for like, a look at the end of 25, but then like really all of 26. It's like, well, you can pay part now and then, I'll put the rest of the income into 26. Kind of match that more. The reality is that it's a billing is a pain in the back.
Yep. Yeah.
Especially if you're doing it and as a solo person, right? Like the last thing you want to be doing during tax season is sending invoices or like
True.
second invoices for stuff because it's like, yeah, you paid half up front and then the other half on the back end. So now it's like, I'll probably switch to single for just about everyone. I do have some special projects or like other scenarios where it doesn't make sense. And I'm also not like fully away, from hourly billing. I know that's like the big scary like old school dinosaur that no one should do anymore. But like if you do any type of resolution work for
Yep.
people, right? It's like, hey, this is probably gonna take me 2 to 3 hours, right? Like I don't know for certain, but this is the hourly rate. I'm guessing it's this. If it's going to take more than this number of hours,
We'll let
I'll
you
come
know.
back to you to see
Yeah.
if you want to do it, right? But even then, right, it's like, I think it's going to take 5. If it creeps to 7, then maybe I'll ask, but like I probably won't think about anything until it's at like 10,
Right.
right? Where it's like, this is taking way more time than it should have or I thought, right? So maybe we need to go back, but for the most part, like again, right? Like it's trying to be fair, right?
Yeah.
Kind of living in a world where it seems everything costs more and more all of the time, regardless of income, people are still conscious of like their wallet, right? Even if they have the money to spend or not. And so, it's not necessarily justification to charge more or, bill more hours, right? It's just trying to be fair for, what do I think this will cost or how long do I think this will take to do?
Oh, I mean,
Because really
that's
like
true.
the return pricing is all somewhat based on that, right? It's like, hey,
Yeah.
here's number of forms or like number of transactions or like amount of activity, right? It's going to drive the overall pricing. And yeah, right. It's dynamic, right? It's not the same for everyone. I think my base last year I started at like 600.
For a
That would have
1099.
been
Yeah.
just like a straight up, right?
Hmm.
Like W2, nothing else, right?
Hmm.
Started there. If I think about like my average return, like just base return quote I sent out, it was closer to like 1200. Because again,
Okay.
everyone kind of people with rental properties or businesses or things going on. I think like my average price at the end of the season is like 1800. That's kind of like the average ticket
Is
per.
that including entities or is that just temporaries?
That includes entities. So
Okay.
I do have like I think I have 6 S corps that I did in a couple partnerships, and I generally
Okay.
start those around 2.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
2000 is like the floor. Some of them truly were like super simple, and it was like I'm doing this, and also your personal returns. Like I will I will give you a discount on the S corp because it has nothing in it. Right? Like there's hardly any activity.
You're
Like
you're
there's
three
not a
thousand
lot to
dollar
do.
guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So it's like
Right.
I'll be fair with that. But yeah, like for the folks with like a plating engagement, that average ticket's close to like 2400. So
Okay.
kind of like I said, like I haven't decided if I'll drop the top or bottom tier. So the top tier has like multiple planning sessions throughout the year. So it's like a kind of kicking off that wave now. We'll do another one in like September. September, October is like a follow up to
Hmm.
that.
Are there any
Um,
deliverables from that, or it's just like, hey, we're just gonna have an extra touch point?
So we'll do like the provision. If there are strategies or things that we recommend, it'll be, the strategies that we talked about and then kind of some of the background of like potential savings or like work involved for you if you
Hmm.
wanted to do it, right? Kind of like a guide as to like, hey, this is kind of what it entails.
Yeah.
But that's it for the most part. So
Gotcha.
I don't think that's wildly different from, if you bought a fancy tool, that's essentially all it's doing, right? Is
Yeah.
hey, here's the strategy, here's some
What's your
info, here's
yeah.
here's potential savings if it all works out perfectly. Right. So yeah. So like I said, I don't think I have a few people in that like twice a year meeting. That kind of self-selected into that. I don't tell anyone what to pick, right? It's all self-selection. I mean, there's probably 2 people where I'm like, hey, based on what you're doing, like you can pick whatever you want, but you're probably best served with this at least for a year.
Yeah.
just to like get it sorted out and get you back to baseline. And then from there, if you want to choose to like
Just
doing it
file.
yourself, right?
Yeah,
Like
right.
whatever, right? Like no sweat off my back, but like right now you need more help.
Yeah,
I made that recommendation like maybe a handful of times,
yeah.
and every time they're like, yeah, no, you're right. Like I do need it, right? Like I was leaning that way anyway. But yeah, like no one's got some people are picking that top one, so maybe it doesn't hurt to leave that option, but it from
Why do you
some
want to
like
drop one?
workflow perspectives, it might make sense to move to like the middle tier of
Mm.
just like, hey, if you sign on, like, it
Is
is
that
your return, it is a provision every year, right? And it is like a meeting throughout the year to kind of keep a handle on things, right?
I-
Stay up
you
to date.
you just
But
want to is the reason you're thinking about dropping a tier just for operational complexity, or is there?
yeah, somewhat. Um,
Mm,
and if I think about my firm, right, like I don't intend to be some like gigantic firm.
mm,
So if you can naturally steer people and have enough people kind of in that range that it makes sense, right? You can kind of, right, I can make the same amount of money or more money with fewer clients.
yeah, of course.
But there are a lot of people that want filing only, so I feel like I probably would be doing myself a disservice getting
Yeah,
out of that offering. Um, maybe I necessarily don't, maybe I don't want to make 120 tax plans during the year, right?
yeah.
Um,
I mean, I think you're right, and it just depends. It's just a function of like what you want to build, and that's I talk about it on a lot of episodes, but to me, that's my favorite part of doing this. It's like everybody we are so lucky to be in an industry that is remote flexible, geography agnostic, and that
yeah,
is in super high demand, where you can literally set your little mousetrap up however you want, and you can optimize for different things. And it's fascinating to me to see how different people uh just kind of decide to build the machine just based on whatever
yeah. I mean,
everybody's got different
that is
outcomes.
like the nice part, or like part of the worry too, if you're just starting out on your own, right? Like, especially someone in my shoes, where it's like I didn't come from a tax firm,
Mm,
right? Like, I'm setting up like what I think I need to set up, or like I'm
yeah,
setting it up how it makes sense to me, but like I don't know if that's right or wrong, right? But like at the end of the day, it's not drastically different than anyone else, right? Like you're still delivering the same product at the end, and like maybe you're finding a way to deliver it better, or more nicely packaged, than other people, right? But it's essentially the same, hopefully a similar work work product to a lot of people. The other hard part, kind of what slowed me down too this year, right, is like being solo. I'm still preparing a lot of things like manually, and then I'm like reconciling at the end, right? And so like getting all that set up for the first year was hard. Um,
yeah,
if I do have more people, I will have to think about having an admin or someone else probably next year. Just even for like the simple stuff in Taxstone, just like renaming all the work papers into like my standard
yeah.
naming convention, right? Like it just takes
Takes time.
time,
Yeah,
right? Like, I'm hoping maybe the organizer or the last year document feature they added this year might help with that somewhat, where I can get it in the same order. But like I do think I'm gonna have to go back and still rename work papers, right? Like the way that I want them. And kind of this year too, like as you get bigger, having to invest more into probably cloud hosting and some other things
yeah,
this year, right? Like the risk is too great now from just like a personal business, perspective to, keep it localized, right? Like I have one machine, I do keep a backup on like an external hard drive, but like, you know, all the work papers and stuff are all, within Taxstone, right? Like all of my documents and organizers and stuff. But yeah, kind of from a hosting perspective, it probably makes sense to to make some changes this year
oh
now that
sure,
you're getting bigger. So, starting out like I did things like I said very cheaply the first year. It was very much
that's the only way
bootstrap.
to do it.
My margins are close to 90%, right? Because I use Drake, which is
Uh,
not, I think it's great if you're starting
Are
out.
you going to use
I'll
Drake again
probably
next year?
I'm
Or
going to
you
use
guys
Drake
just
again next year.
okay?
I hope if someone from Drake listens to this, I apologize, but I very much appreciate the fact that it looks like you're playing like Oregon Trail 2 from like the 90s. Like it's like very, very old school, just like plain and boring to look at. Like I do not need bubble letters. I don't need anything fancy, right? Like it works for me. And like there are some odd things about how it works or like overrides you have to do.
Yeah,
But once you figure them out the first time, like they're generally the same every time after that. And so like you kind of know where to look or how to go about it. But it's like that first time sometimes where it's like, man, like I just spent an hour trying to figure out how to enter like this one line. Like this is
yeah, right,
terrible,
right.
right? But
You have
like,
to eat it. You
I'm
eat
not
it
saying
up.
anyone
Yeah,
else would have been better, right?
right.
Like some things are just weird and like it's not going to be accounted for in a way that makes sense.
No, that's so true.
So
Wait.
like, yeah, I'll use Drake again. I have no intention of moving out of tax to
Mhm.
other than that, right? Like my biggest ad this year is probably, like I said, going to be cloud hosting or some other stuff.
Okay.
But yeah,
Trial balance software? Are you using a Tally for or something like that? Or
no,
okay, okay. That
pretty
one
basic on
was
that front. Like I said, I focus mostly on individuals,
yeah.
and so I don't have a huge need for that.
Hmm.
Um, if I start focusing more on like true business returns, maybe it makes sense. But like right now, most of my people are Schedule C if they have a business, so like it's
Sure.
not
Yeah. Right.
not something that can't be easily managed in Excel, right?
Sure.
And put into that template. So yeah, at some point it might be there. I'm getting more inquiries from businesses wanting like a more full suite of stuff.
Mm.
Um, I know some people locally that are actually I've known them since high school. He's kind of working on going out on his own and establishing his own bookkeeping practice.
Mm.
And so I've been partnering with him some kind of, hey, this person has come in, like I need X, Y, and Z done, right? Like I'm gonna pitch you for the cleanup, right? Like hopefully they reach out, like, but it's yours, right? Like I don't have time to do it in
Yeah.
the middle of tax season, right? It's like I'm happy to do that to you, or like more businesses reaching out more recently want someone to handle everything. It's like, you know, maybe I could do it all, but like I probably have portions of the year where I can't,
Right.
and I'll need someone. So it's like maybe that's like, hey,
Yeah.
if
Pair
you
up.
want, I'm happy to bring you on board as either like a contractor for this, and like I'll just do all of the billing, and you can do whatever. Like maybe they're fine working with you separate, right? But a lot of people seem to want it in house if they do that. But
Yeah.
so if it makes sense, right, I'll do that. But if looking at this profession, right, like people are running away from helping people. Right. Like there's a lot of smaller firms that are focusing only on small businesses or areas where they can offer more of like that full suite of stuff, right? That full year round package or monthly recurring, whatever it may be. And it's like there are a lot of people out there that just want, you know, they just need a Nick or they just need an Evan or someone that like they can call.
Yeah.
And it seems preposterous to thinking about like if you're starting, right? But like part of it, like in your mind, it's just like, man, like I need to find like, can I find 200 people or 150 people out of the entire country that'll pay me X
Yeah.
to do
Right.
what? Right. And
Right.
it's just like, man, like if I can find 150 people that'll pay me this, like,
I'm
man,
set.
that's amazing, right? And it
Right.
seems crazy, but then like, I'm through one season, I'm like halfway there.
Oh, and
Right. So it's like within
I
two
have no
years,
doubt in my
right? Like
mind. Yeah.
I could have had
Exactly.
this thought of like, man, can I find, this many people to pay me this? And it's like, yeah, you probably can
I'll
because
be
there's not a lot of people out there doing it. And like if you're a CPA,
and doing it and not just doing it, but the doing it kind of with and we didn't go too deep on it, but you mentioned it in your intake form and you've kind of referenced it here, but like doing it with the attitude of like genuinely wanting to help versus I'm busy and this is an inconvenience or I just don't even respond to my damn emails. Like um I have no doubt in my mind that you'll have doubled again or you'll have doubled, next year. Like there's just such a demand.
I mean,
There's
that's
such a
the
demand.
hope,
If
right?
that's what you
Like,
want. If that's what you want. Yeah.
yeah, no, it is. I mean, right? Like people are generally wanting to make, real connections with folks. And I think if you're willing to put yourself out there in that capacity and actually do that, right, it's going to go a long way.
Yeah.
And when you do that with more people, right, like they remember those connections and you being genuine and just like someone they can talk to. Like if you're available for random questions throughout the year, right, like, go for it, right? Like, I tell everyone, hey, like, you got my cell phone number. You can message me through the tax stone portal. You have my email, right? If you need anything, like, send me a message. And like, I'll get messages on Friday nights like, hey, I got this letter. Okay, cool. This is what it means. Call me Monday, right? Okay, got it. Like, I feel good for the weekend. Like, thank you. Or,
Right.
I was on a fishing trip earlier in May, and they're like, someone messaged me and like, it was like 10 o'clock on a Friday night, my time, but they're somewhere else and it was daytime, middle of the day still. And they're like, hey, I'm at this office and I need this. Like, what do I'm like, all right, give me 20 minutes and, just find the info on my phone and look through whatever and send it to them. It's like, oh, thanks, man. Like that, that helped a ton. And it's just like, I wasn't doing anything. It didn't take
Yeah, you're
didn't take
fishing,
me
you're
much effort,
working.
right? But it went a long way with them and they're not going to forget it, right? If anything, they're going to tell some people like, hey, like I have this guy, like I send him questions and
He's
he
the
gets
guy.
back to me,
Right.
right? Like he knows what he's doing. This is how he delivers stuff. It's so cool, right? Like it's just like really easy. Um, you know, that's kind of what it's all about. So, I also tell people, right? Like, if I've taught you enough about your own return that you don't need me in 3 years, great. I did my job, right?
Right.
Because maybe there's a person or two that'll take you up on that and actually feel that way. But for the most part, no, right? There's like, no, he knows what he's doing.
Right.
I don't have to worry about this and I'll keep paying for it. Right.
No, it's so
So,
true. That's so true. Well, we're a little bit over an hour, so we'll transition. I'm having a bite. It feels like it's been 10 minutes. Well, anyway, we'll just have to do another. But let's transition if it's all right with you to the final five. Same five questions
yeah.
we ask everybody that comes on. Do you have a favorite business book?
Oh man, I probably should. I don't.
Okay.
Yeah. You probably want to pick a different question. I have a list of things that I probably need to read or at least listen to, right?
Well,
But
more and
yeah, like I
more
said, I've been so focused the
on working,
last
doing the work.
9 months, right? Like getting this up
Yeah.
and running and moving. And, I think part of my approach too is like, I'm not afraid to like go fight in the street, right? So like I would go out and like make my own opportunities, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you know, I made this, I made a deck for a realtor client that I have, and I went to their office and kind of just walked them through like, hey, like here's a better way, or here's like how you should think about running your business during the year, so like you don't have a problem in April,
Yeah.
right? Like this is what you need to do, like this is what it means, right? Like this is how it goes, right? And I went there and it's like, okay, who else do I know? That's a realtor. It's like, oh, I know these 10 people. Hey, email. Do you want me to come to your office and talk about this? A few of them said yes, right? So it's like I'll go out and do that, right? But it's like making your own opportunities because I'm not at capacity yet,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, maybe when people come in the fall, maybe they don't, right? I don't know, but like,
Right.
I'll just keep doing that until I get there. So like, yeah, I spend more of my time doing stuff like that
Doing the work.
than probably reading. But yeah, what's the next question?
Oh, well, it's true, and I've especially coming out of tax season, my reading volume. I used to read a lot more, and I still try to, but I've found that my consumption has gone to like podcasts. Like I'm listening to a ton of podcasts, but I don't do the audiobook thing yet. But I'm with you. I think there's a lot of folks that'll read 100 business books and they never start the business. And I
Yeah.
think you're better. Yeah, you're better served just just
Yeah, I
sending
think
it.
like I said, right? Like, the ships that wait for the perfect wind never set sail, right? Like you can read all you want and you can listen to as many podcasts as you want and whatever. Like none of that is going to go out there and actually do it
Do the
for
work
you.
for you.
And if you're
Yeah.
opening if you're opening a business as yourself, right? Like you have to just do it. And whether it's good or it's bad, right? Like I tell my kids this all the time, right? Like we do it anyways. Like, yeah, this is gonna suck. Yep, do it. Like this is gonna be too cold. Yep, do it. Right? Like, there is no excuse, right? Like, I didn't want to get to the end of this first tax season and look back and be like, hey, like I didn't try hard enough,
Yeah.
right? Like I didn't show up enough times, or I didn't do the hard thing enough times, right? Like what was I afraid of?
Yeah.
Right? Like, there is a rejection, failure, to all this, right? Like fear of rejection, but like, I don't want to go back to to corporate yet, maybe ever, right? Like I'm enjoying this, right? So it's like, if my only thing holding me back is me just like not trying harder, then I have to look in the mirror at that at the end of the day, right? And say, hey, like you didn't try hard enough,
Yeah.
right?
No, it's
So
true.
this is a weird space where there's so much work out there. Like I know everyone, anyone listening to this probably heard people say that, right? Like there's tons of work, right? What does that actually mean? But like, yeah, if you put yourself out there, like there
There's work.
there genuinely is a ton of work, right? Like people will find you and come to you with questions, and if you start putting yourself out there more, the snowball is very real and it rolls downhill quickly. So
Oh, for sure. What about what is one system or tool that you wouldn't want to run your firm without?
um I I would say it's probably Taxstone.
Hmm.
You know, I didn't want to spend a ton of money to start out because you're obviously worried about like, well, if I find enough people to pay for this stuff and make it profitable. Taxstone is not that expensive, relatively speaking, for a year. The amount of time that it saved and like the customer experience that it provides. But like don't just buy it. Like if you're gonna buy it, you need to actually use it, right? Like use it for what it's built for and for what it's worth, right? Like make your workflows, right, for the different things you're offering, and make your communications and set reminders and test them, right? And make sure like it's delivering how you want it to do. Because really, right, like all I had to do for all of my new people during tax season, right, was like create the job. And then from there, it's like, all right, I made the job. It's going to send you an engagement letter. When you've both signed it, and paid your invoice, it's going to move you to the organizer, and it's going to auto send an organizer that I've made. And then once you've uploaded your docs and completed it, then it finally puts it to my queue for me
Right.
to work, right? Like I didn't have to track any of this stuff. Like I could look in there and say, like, okay, like, hey, this guy's been in here for 7 weeks now. Like I will send him like a message like, hey man, like how's it going? Like you've been in here for a long time. Like, is everything okay? Like, okay, oh yeah, no, sorry. Like I've just been busy. If you don't get me done on time, I understand, but yeah, I mean, I think that tool was worth its weight in gold. This year, and I have a feeling I'll say the same thing about moving to cloud hosting next year. I think you guys might use Verdo as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, we're very guys. Yeah, I am.
But yeah, I'm looking, and I'll probably make the switch there by the end of the week.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'd really like to. So
so just based on like I had a call with them last week, but like I think that's kind of that'll be the next evolution, right?
sure.
It's that, and then I would say starting out like just invest in like you know a better a better computer than you probably need.
Yeah, we learned that
Right, like
lesson
pick
the hard
something that
way a
has enough horsepower.
couple
Make sure you're
times.
comfortable and you're not worried about it.
Yeah, it's literally the only capital expenditure we have. I just
Yeah, I mean, like you
don't
had a couple things of software,
don't cheap out on the
Calendly,
computer. Yeah.
monthly, and that, right? So,
Well, that's true. What about you have any events or conferences you're planning on going to in the next year?
I do. I would like to get to Ronnie Whittaker's Launch Your Firm event next year. Like I said, I just been so focused on doing the work and building,
Yeah.
this year that I wasn't really paying attention to any of that stuff, and kind of just given the dates, it didn't work out. Engage. I've thought about going to. The price tag is just kind of high for me to justify like going to. At some point, I do need to go to stuff. Like I do want to meet, other other firm owners and other people, and like the content there, right, is definitely very relevant. So I will get there eventually. But yeah, I don't have anything planned at the moment per
Hmm.
se. But yeah, if there's something, like I said, I'm up towards Raleigh. If it's down in Charlotte where it's a couple hours away,
Yeah.
Maybe even up in DC, that's probably like 5 or 6 hours away. It might
Yeah.
make
Might be worth
sense.
just doing a day trip.
But yeah, I need to do a better job of that next year, of kind of like seeing where things are and when, and kind of like making plans earlier to go get to some of it. Because yeah, I mean that is the hard part, right? Like running your own firm is that
It's
like
busy. It's busy.
you are on an island, right? When it comes to that, and like building a good network of folks that you could talk to and bounce questions or ideas off of. I was lucky to meet a few people off of LinkedIn. That we've taken that like off of LinkedIn to a degree, right? Where like you'll call each other on occasion and ask some questions, or
Sure.
connect in different forms, just to talk about shop and like running your firm and what's working and what's not, that type of thing. But yeah, I mean, having that bigger network would just be helpful. I do need to look more locally too. I know there are some things here locally that get put on by folks. It's just, not ever really participating in this space in this capacity. I wasn't looking for it. And now that I have some time, it probably would have made sense to do it. But, I've been a lot busier since 415 than I thought I would be. And if I wanted to work kind of like tax season hours this month to catch up, I probably have enough work to like justify doing that at least for a couple weeks,
Yeah.
to get to that point. But, that's not necessarily the goal. But, like I said, I'm still
It's still
still
busy.
growing.
It's
I
not
still have
right.
targets. Like I'm gonna keep saying yes. I would say if you are starting your firm, like be that person that says yes more than no.
Yeah.
Don't be too proud. Maybe you want to just do tax or whatever, but people do have other needs. And
Yeah,
if
take
it's
the
about
business. Yeah.
survival,
Take the
right? Like
business
you just
there,
say
right?
yes, right? Like you're here to make money,
Right.
or you're here to just do what you want to do, right? Like your choice, I guess.
No, it's so true. Well, what about hobbies when you're not running the firm or being a dad and a husband? What do you like to do outside of work?
I like to fish quite quite a bit. I haven't been able to for a long time. And like I said, I have two younger kids, and so that kind of
Yeah.
pulls you away a lot of weekends and early mornings to where the dad hat. So trying to kind of getting back into that this year more. I did say that I would judge the success of tax season by how many returns I did and how many casts I took. So I did make time some mornings when the weather was nice to go hit some lakes here locally and just get outside for a bit, clear the mind.
Are you a kayak fishing guy or are you?
No, so my brother-in-law got a kayak this year and has been doing that, like a fishing kayak, and it looks pretty tempting.
I got one
I'll-
towards the end of tax season, and
yeah,
it's been
yeah, it looks
a
pretty
lot of fun.
legit. I'm still really big into like surf fishing from the beach.
Oh, really? You got to the beach and
Yeah,
did?
so
Oh,
we
yeah.
go out to the Outer Banks every May, so kind of like end of tax season.
Mm.
Type of trip for a couple days to do some stuff. So I really enjoy that.
Do
But yeah,
you?
I mean, it's kind of that, just being outside in general. I mean, our family takes a lot of hikes. We have a pretty close knit unit. We kind of just roll as one all the time. So,
Do you?
we're,
Are you a hunter? I see your rack. You got that rack up behind you.
I am. I didn't get out last year. I won't hunt on public land. I did that when I moved here,
The
and
most
I went
dangerous
out like
game.
one or two mornings, and I was like, I'll never do this again. Yeah, I had people
Combat
point, like, someone
combat
point
hunting.
like an AR at me or like some other stuff because it's like, oh, you walked in my spot. It's like, well, no, like this is like it's public land. I like as soon as I saw you, you were like 500 yards away. Like I stopped, right? Like because you did not see, Bambi's dad. That was not my doing, right? Like it was everything else. But yeah, no, I have a neighbor that has, an opportunity to go out sometimes. Just didn't happen this last year, but
Gotcha.
it's hard. It had been harder. When you work like a more traditional schedule last year, I probably would have had more time to do it because I didn't have anything pressing,
Yeah.
and maybe that'll be the case. But my family also likes to travel. I guess that would be our other hobby. So we're a bit into the credit card, like miles
Play the
space and
game.
like miles transfers and like all of that type of stuff. And so we do try to try to plan a fair
Uh-oh.
number of trips or adventures.
Last question: where can people go to connect with you or find out more about you?
Yeah, so I know you mentioned I have like I guess starting to get like a decent presence on LinkedIn. I do post a lot about like my journey on there. I'm very transparent with like what's happening. I don't have a strategy, um, for posting on LinkedIn at all. It's kind of just, what's happening, like what's coming to mind, what am I, struggling with or doing well at that I feel like people would enjoy hearing about.
Yeah.
And some of the posts make me cringe when it's more talking about like the success or like how well things, feel like they're going, just because I know that's not the case for everyone. But I do get a lot of like support or like random people reach out afterwards where they're like, "Hey, that was really helpful," or like, thanks for sharing," or like, I just, people I've known for a long time was like, "Hey, like I really enjoy following you and like what you're building. Like it's so great to see." So I keep doing it for that reason. So yeah, it's just my name, Evan Schroedel. You can find me on LinkedIn there. My website's evanthecpa.com. Um, those are kind of the two sources, but if you wanted to get in touch with me in some way. So, now that we're slower, if you're looking to start a firm or have questions or, want to chat, right? Like, I don't have a problem, spending 20-30 minutes with someone to kind of just meet them and answer questions if they have them. I've done that. I looked for that when I was starting my firm and was lucky enough to find some people generous with their time. And so, if that's my way of being able to give back now, then more than happy to do it. If kind of view it as like we're all in this together. If you need someone's help, and that person's me, and you reach out and ask for it, then if I'm able to give it, I'm happy to do so.
Oh, that's awesome. And we'll link your LinkedIn in the show notes below for anybody who's interested. I've enjoyed kind of following along intermittently. Like I said, I'm not as diligent on LinkedIn as I probably ought to be, but or as I have been in the past. But every time I'm on there, it's fun just kind of seeing your posts and seeing what you've been up to. So, um,
Yeah, we do
well,
that.
well, Evan, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on, and it's been a blast chatting with you. Where you're not too far, so if you ever miss an exit and find yourself in Southern Pines, or if we ever are headed up towards Raleigh, we'll have to conduct link up, get some lunch or something.
Yeah, definitely let me know. Would be more than happy to meet up. So
Sweet. Well, appreciate it, and yeah, we'll catch you soon.
sounds good.
Well, that is our episode with Evan Schroedel. Many thanks again to Evan for taking the time to come on. Had a blast. What'd you think, Matt?
I thought it was a great episode. You guys really gelled. Another semi-local podcast guest.
Semi-local. Yeah.
We changed our with Kiasa's help, changed the kind of guest acquisition strategy. So a lot more of them in this latest kind of tranche have been more local, as opposed to the previous strategy where they're like all over the place. Looks like we're probably going to return to more of a
Kind of wider net.
wider net, more national.
Ooh,
But
national. That's good. More of a national strategy.
yeah, I mean, with the virtual accounting, virtual bookkeeping, and tax stuff, as it's a topic of the podcast, it doesn't really factor in. Like you could be based in North Carolina, specializing in taxes in any other place, or you could serve clients wherever. So
100%. Well, no, I thought it was a great episode, and we'll have to touch base with Evan again once he's got another tax season under his belt, and just continue to monitor that explosive growth of his. Fires me up, and hopefully, if anybody has listened this far, and you're either a new or aspiring firm owner, I mean, Evan's story is just amazing, super inspiring. It's very doable, and I appreciate him coming on and sharing with us. If you got value from listening to the show, please take a second and drop us a comment, leave us a like, or follow/subscribe. And aside from that, I think we'll see you guys on the next one.